Welcome to the Rich Mind Podcast.
All right. Welcome back to the Rich Mind Podcast. Quick question for you. If you knew that you couldn't fail and that you weren't going to be judged by a decision that you needed to make, what's the one thing that you would do starting today or even tomorrow at the latest that would propel you into this bigger version of yourself? That's the discussion we want to have here today, is the self-doubts, the self-limitations, the inner critic that's just all that those voices going on in your mind, even in your outside experiences. Maybe you've got other people trying to tell you or hold you back from reaching your biggest goals that you've got for yourself. But what if you could not fail? What if there was no way that you could fail or that you were going to be judged? What different decisions would you make starting immediately? And that's the question that we want to have and pose to you today and the discussion we want to have. So, Greg, any thoughts on that? We had a little bit of a back and forth before we hit record today, but yeah, I think this will be a fun conversation for sure.
I like this episode and this topic just because it's going to be different for everybody, how they approach it. Even like you said, you and I spoke about this a little bit before we hit record, and there's a lot of different angles you can come from as far as, your career or your hobbies or relationships. So it just kind of makes us think and makes the listener think too of what avenue can I apply this to? And you can apply it to more than one avenue if you'd like as well. Yeah, really cool topic. And I think it's going to be a fun one.
So the word that comes to mind when I read this or thought through this for the first time as far as the question was belief, and that self-doubt, the belief in yourself, and how important that is for anybody, any one of us, to be able to step into this larger version of ourselves. I've had so many different opportunities that at the time they seemed larger than life. Whether it's, going back to my W-2 life before I stepped out into being more of an entrepreneur myself, I remember that was a big decision. I had big things to think about, right? I had a young family. I had obviously financial obligations and different things like that. And that self-doubt really was hammering home in my mind. It was really a struggle to get that to stop chattering. I've had other conversations with other folks that have come to me and asked, how did you do XYZ, or what were your steps of accomplishing different goals that I've achieved throughout my journey? And one thing that when I will give them some of that feedback, I start hearing some of those same doubts coming from them as well that I used to have for myself. They'll start talking about safety. They'll start talking about the security of the job and the security of the paycheck and the security of the insurance or whatever comes from that W-2 world. And I'll tell you that I had those same self-doubts. I had those same self-limitations. And it was my ability then to recognize them in the moment, but then realize that they weren't necessarily true, that I didn't necessarily need to listen to them. And I had to really step into and have faith and belief in myself that I was going to be able to figure it out. One thing that I've learned over my journey is that you're not going to see everything that you're going to need to see like day one. Set a goal, set an intention of where you want to go, and then just keep moving forward, keep stepping into it. And as you allow yourself to do that through some belief and through some faith, the right ideas, the right people, the right acquaintances, right? The right friendships, the right podcast episodes, everything is going to show up when it's time. That's been my experience. And that's been a lot of trial and error, a lot of trying to figure it out as I go. So that's what I would try to, to express to you listening to us today, is think through this bigger version of yourself. And if you could not fail, what is the one thing, just one thing that you would step into and get done immediately today, if not no later than tomorrow, for sure? What is that one thing for yourself?
Yeah, great question. I mean, I'll kind of jump off here and go into probably the entrepreneurial world to answer that question. I'm assuming you're asking me directly that question, right, Randy?
Absolutely.
All
Greg,
right.
what is the one thing that you need to do today?
Oh, man.
So many, right?
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of avenues like I'm talking about here, but in the entrepreneurial world, you mentioned a lot of people kind of stay in that W-2 world for the safety, the paycheck and the insurance. And I've been there. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that at all. It's just a matter of if you want something more, right? You've got to make some different choices for sure.
And I think entrepreneurs, we do that as well on the other side of the coin. If we're an entrepreneur, like I've been an entrepreneur since 2015 when I first started my realtor career in Phoenix. And in my mind, that is the road. That's my path. I'm an entrepreneur. Could I go back to a W-2? In my mind, my instant answer is no, I'm an entrepreneur and this is the lane that I have to stay in. But that's not true, right? So obviously people can go from W-2 to entrepreneur and vice versa. So just because you're in one lane for a certain period of time in your life doesn't mean that you need to stay in that lane. It's just a matter of, like you're talking about, what feels comfortable to you, what can you do, are you able to make that jump, and yeah, and are you able to make that jump, and if you fall, are you going to be able to get back up, or is it going to knock you down for the count? So anyway, to answer that question, I think for me in the entrepreneurial world, if I couldn't fail, I would probably start my coaching business sooner than later, because I realize that it aligns a little bit more with kind of my authentic self and what I want to do. Help people directly, teach them, either about finances or mindset, like we're doing here on the podcast, but really do that directly to, or more one-on-one with people who want my services and my education and that kind of thing. So yeah, it's something I've really thought about and I've kind of dipped my toe into a little bit, but I've never jumped 100% into it. And maybe this episode will kind of kick me in the butt to get some things going.
Well, expect a kick in the butt because here it comes. So, yeah, you set that up perfect. And I told you, yeah, here we go. So, let me just push back on you and just say, okay, so what is it that is keeping you from taking those first few steps here in the beginning process? As you know, you're not going to know who, you're not going to know how, you're not going to know a lot of the questions that you might be having, but what is it that's keeping you from at least starting that process?
I think a few things. I mean, at first, number one is probably my limiting belief of, I've never been a teacher before. I've never had a program or really pushed or advertised my services as far as teaching or mentoring goes. So there's definitely a limiting belief behind that of, why would somebody hire me as opposed to somebody else? Or do I have enough value to deliver? And then recording videos, like we were talking about earlier, that's something I would really have to get comfortable with, which is probably lower on that list for sure. But yeah, I think it's probably my limiting belief just because I've never done it before and never done anything like it before, really. So it's a little bit out of left field for me, even though I really do feel like it would align with, my purpose. And obviously I can make a career out of it or a business out of it as an entrepreneur. But yeah, I think the limiting belief is probably the number one thing that comes to mind.
So you've got the big vision because that's you described that as far as what you see and how you see that becoming. So then the question that I would have for you, and I would have this and pose this to anybody out there kind of going through this exercise within themselves, listening to us today, what would be one simple thing? It doesn't have to be even that difficult. What would be one simple thing that you could implement today? You talked about possibly needing to record some content or record some videos. Is there any part of that function? Do you need to study something? Do you need to read something? And I don't want to put the answer in your mouth, but as far as is there anything like that that you could at least get that process started?
Yeah, no, that's a great question too. And I've actually asked myself that question because, that's just a smart question to answer or ask yourself is, answer this question. What's the smallest thing you can do today to feel like you're getting progress? The answer is probably plug some stuff into ChatGPT, some workflows, some frameworks, even some 30-second, 40-second scripts that I could, practice and everything. So there's definitely two or three things right there that I just named that I could knock out pretty quickly, even after we record this episode. So yeah, I mean, there's always those small things that will give you that momentum. And I think that's probably just a good reminder for me specifically to just do those things and track them and yeah, and keep moving forward.
Now, do you feel like this vision, this coaching business, this coaching entrepreneurial side, helping other people with their entrepreneurial ideas and that type of thing, do you think that that would give you a feeling, like a good feeling within? Does that make sense? Would it
Mhm.
be something that would pull you towards being excited every day to get up, go to work, speak to people? As I've mentioned several times, you're fantastic with interacting with folks, right? You're just a great networker. Tell me about the feelings that would be generated if you were to allow yourself, with some self belief, to step into these what I would consider, maybe smaller steps. I don't want to say basic because I think they're all important, but just maybe smaller steps at the beginning?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I always kind of use this as a scale, right? As my current job as a realtor, it's this number out of 10, and what I'm really looking for is, I mean, I'm not looking for a 10 out of 10. That might be unattainable, but I really just want like a 7 or 8 out of 10, where I wake up every morning and I'm like, all right, cool. This is what I get to do today. I get to talk to Randy about his business and help him overcome these obstacles and really get to know, what you're trying to do and what's holding you back, and really just help you understand what is holding you back, not necessarily give you the answer, but give you the road to the answer so you can kind of figure it out, or we can figure it out together. Yeah, that would make me really happy, just because, again, I like helping people directly. And like you said, I think I'm a really good listener, networker, and that's a huge part of coaching, is listening and understanding where that person is coming from, where they want to go, and more importantly, what is the correct path for me to take that person down. Because like I said, anybody can just give them the answer and say, yeah, go do this and go do that. But if that person is really looking for a little bit more support, or they want to find the answer themselves a little bit, that's kind of where coaching comes in a little bit more than just directly telling somebody, do A, B, and C, and then you'll be fine.
So do you have the equipment to begin that process for yourself? Are there big pieces of the puzzle that you're missing from a physical standpoint? Meaning, you talked about recording some content. Obviously, we're on video recording this, so you must have a camera. You've got a microphone. Is there any other pieces like that that you might be needing to get this process started for yourself?
I think the biggest thing is I do need some more training as far as coaching goes. I did take
Like,
a coaching,
like how to coach? Is that what you mean?
not necessarily how to coach, but putting together the right framework, finding the right person to maybe work one on one with around that framework. Because I did take a coaching course, but it was, a 40-hour kind of course. It wasn't very in depth. It kind of gave you, the 30,000-foot view, or maybe a little bit more than that. But just that, and just getting the reps in, really practicing with people, understanding what am I good at in the coaching framework, what can I improve on, as far as communication goes, or asking questions. So I think it's really just practicing and really being around other people who are coaches, because they can help me just kind of find out exactly what I'm doing right, what I'm doing wrong, what I can improve on, criticisms, that kind of thing.
So if you're So I love this. I'm just pulling this thread. Hopefully you're good with this, Greg. This
Yeah.
is this is fun. So hopefully folks you're listening to this and finding some value in this as well. So I'm just trying to pull these ideas out of Greg in real time to just help you even see it for yourself, some of the doubts, some of the limiting beliefs, that kind of thing. But then also to come to a conclusion of, okay, if I can start this process with X, Y, and Z, small basic stuff, right? That is going to start moving the needle forward. That's what my hope is. So I'm hoping that you can see that, Greg, as we continue this conversation. So one thing that I've learned, and as far as when I've looked for coaches or I've looked for mentorship, I'm trying to get a specific problem solved. I'm trying to be able to do a specific thing at the end of the training. Do you know what that would be? Like, what would you serve potential clients to do? What would you help them be able to do? When I offered coaching, I'll just give you an example. When I offered some coaching 2 or 3 years ago, I was helping people set up Amazon stores because that's exactly what I had done. I'd received and gotten some success doing that. And so that I could take that practice and basically just duplicate it and show them, here, X, do this, do this, do this, will result in this, whatever that result was. That was my Amazon coaching business that I had there for a little while. Is there anything that you can think of more narrowed down as far as who you are and what you want to help people learn how to do?
Yeah, there's two things that are come to mind. So currently I'm working with a career coach right now to kind of help me flesh out all these ideas. And obviously she's a coach, so I can ask her specific questions about coaching, the coaching career. But the first one, it would definitely be around the book that I wrote, the Teen Money Mindset book, so I can help parents and teenagers just understand finances, because it's really not taught in schools these days. And it wasn't taught when I was a kid. So that's kind of why I wrote the book. So that would be really fun, because obviously you and I talk about, finances and wealth on here, but it's also building relationships between those parents and those children, and myself and those parents and those children as well. So I think that would be really fun. It would be a really great way for me to give back. And, obviously the book that I wrote is a great roadmap for that. The other one that kind of comes to mind, and I don't know if this one is as viable, but I am really interested in helping people with their own careers, trying to figure out, kind of like what we're talking about here, W-2 or entrepreneur, and what's going to fit with your lifestyle. So I know there's a lot of career coaches out there who help people, maybe they're in midlife like myself and they're like, well, I'm doing this, but it's not really fulfilling. Or, if you want to make a ton of money, you can do this, but is it really going to move the needle as far as, do you feel like doing that every day you wake up? So I don't know. So career coach is probably on the second rung of that, just because I'm kind of going through it right now and I can really speak from experience of, I'm not really sure which way I'm going to go. And if you ask me where I'm going to be in 3 years, I couldn't tell you right now. So anyway, those are the two ideas that I have at this point in time.
You're going to be a coach 3 years from now. That's the goal. That's what we're moving towards.
All right.
So the question that's coming to my mind, and I appreciate those two answers, but the thought that came to my mind, and I keep saying it over and over and over, is there any way, or can you think of any way, bringing networking into your coaching? Here's the thought that was coming to my mind even as I missed saying that question, was that you've got a pretty deep Rolodex, deeper Rolodex than I've got, meaning you have resources of other people that know how to do certain things, that if you could be that middle person to help them. So it's like you bring on a person to talk to, you get some information about them, you're trying to figure out where they're headed, what they're trying to do. My guess is that you would know exactly who to point them to. You need to go speak to Joe, or you need to speak to Susie, or you need to go, you need to go to this conference, or you need to go listen to this book. Does any of that sound or resonate with you at all? As far as, like, once again, taking your skill set, which is networking, communication, listening, but then offering some support and offering, solutions. Uh, does any of that ring a bell, or does any of that resonate with you at all?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I know you and I, we share podcast links back and forth of, hey, Greg, you're going to really like this episode. Check this one out. And I always appreciate when you send me one, and I'm sure you do the same when I send you one, right? So yeah. So that is just like another supplement that I can add to probably each of those coaching, you know, areas. But I love that stuff because when I'm listening to a podcast, and if I might have a friend or even a client in this situation that could benefit from listening to that podcast, definitely send that along to that person. And if they listen to it, great. If they get something out of it, awesome. If they don't, they at least know, hey, Greg is thinking of me, and, he sent this along to me. So I probably will at least give it a listen and see if I can pull anything out of there. So yeah, I think that's just part of being a good networker and a connector, is really listening and understanding, like, what would Randy like? What kind of podcast would I think Randy would like? And sometimes it's probably 100%, and other times I might swing and a miss, but at least I'm, sending them out there and trying to make that connection.
So how could we position that ability to network and that ability to offer information, solutions, that type of thing, to a potential client or somebody that's listening to us today or sometime in the future, as far as knowing that Greg's the guy? I'm going to go to Greg to get XYZ result. Can you narrow that down at all, as far as, like, what is it that part of that you're very good at? Can you think of anything that you would help them get a specific result for? You talked about career coaching. Just wanted to maybe just go a little bit deeper with that, if that's possible.
So for the career coaching, let's jump on that one. I think that would be more, the result would be clarity of even knowing what you don't want to do. That's a great start, right? So, but I think the ultimate, result would be, if I was going to career coach with somebody, is what do you really want to do? What can you do? And what would, financially support you in the lifestyle that you want as well. So it can't just be, what do you want to do? And then you go out and do it. There's a lot of other circumstances and just other outside factors that you have to take into account, right? It's kind of like a Venn diagram where they have three circles and everything overlaps in the middle. If you want to make a good living, but you don't choose a career that doesn't make a good living or a high number, then you have to really figure that out. Well, do you want to make a lot of money, or do you want to do something that you really enjoy but doesn't make a lot of money? Maybe there's another way to approach that. So I guess to answer your question on the career coaching, it would probably be really getting clarity of what could you do, what do you want to do, what's feasible with your education, or are you willing to go out and take some classes? So it's very very fluid and dynamic, I guess. So it's not an easy question to answer, but I guess for the career coaching, it would be narrowing it down to what don't I want to do, what do I want to do, and then how feasible is that, and we'd probably walk through that pretty specifically.
So just listening to you, which is fun because we have conversation all the time. So when are you going to start this business? Because this sounds like this would be something that would light a fire within you. And I don't mean that like a negative, like you don't need to be shoved out of an airplane. You mean you just need to get going. You need to get some momentum building. So what is it? Once again, I'm not your coach. I'm not going to be here calling you and say, Greg, I'm not trying to hold you accountable to anything. But at the same time, yeah, we're making a timestamp here. What is it that we can do? What is it that you can do that would get you going with this? I know the current path you're on, and you don't need to go into detail about the struggles and that type of thing, but I don't think it's serving you as well as it sounds like this potential coaching would be. Where do we need to go? Where do you need to get started? And how can I support you in that?
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. Well, I know mentioning the career coach that I'm working with, I have 4 more sessions with her. So that puts me out about a month, and she's been really great. She's been diving into, kind of like you, like asking these questions, but it's a little bit more in depth because obviously she is a career coach, so she can navigate a little bit more deeper because this is what she does day in and day out. So there's definitely things I can do, like you were talking about, small steps um, to get things going. And a lot of it is research right now, but I don't want to say relying on her, but I'm really going to utilize her wisdom and just education and experience to kind of point me in the right direction. Not to say I'm going to listen to her 100% because obviously this is my life and my career. But anyway, I really want to finish out those 4 sessions and doing a little bit more research on framework and funnels and sales and all that kind of stuff and what that really looks like. So I don't know if that answers your question or not, but I'm taking some steps, but I'm also, waiting for that 4 weeks to kind of, conclude with my career coach.
And that's awesome. So the thought that I had that was coming to my mind as you were speaking there was to literally just ask her, how do you do what you do? And would you be willing even just to kind of show me a little bit of the back end? Because there's always back end things, even with producing the podcast or anything that I do online or whatever, right? There's always some back end things that the normal folks aren't going to see that I think sometimes you get a little confused, get a little um, just unaware since you don't know how to do some of those things, it keeps you from moving forward. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Maybe a little bit of overwhelm if you're not prepared to take some of those steps into the back end things. Do you think she'd be open to that? Do you think she'd be open to share with you a little bit more of the back end things that she does to get a hold of people, to touch, to reach out, to have these conversations with folks?
Yeah, I think so for sure. And even when I was taking my coaching certification, I did reach out to some other coaches, even cold reaching out on Instagram and other people who are just doing coaches or doing coaching. They're coaches for 2 years, 5 years. So I did ask them a little bit of what does it look like and how long did it take you to get to where you are right now and that kind of thing. So yeah, so I'm not afraid to ask, coaches questions. And I think even in the first session, the career coaching kind of came up because I just told her, I was like, yeah, I think I would kind of like to do what you're doing to me right now. And, it was just, yeah, just something that I mentioned. And, you know, we're kind of working through that right now through her framework, which is kind of cool because I get to participate in her framework, but I also get to see her framework from a coach's point of view as well. So it's you kind of see it from both sides a little bit, which is really cool.
Sounds like we just need to get you on board and have your phone, grab your computer, grab your whatever, and just start talking about it, man. I think that's what I'm hearing you say is that you've got all the skills required. You've got the desire. It's just a matter of just pressing go or pressing record. And then not, that fear of judgment, that fear of, am I doing it right? Am I saying the right things? When I started the podcast, I had all of that and then some. Every now and then I still get that, meaning I'm worried about what I'm saying, how I'm saying it. Am I sounding stupid? Is anybody listening? All of those kinds of things still cross my mind, but I've gotten myself to the point where I've wanted to do this so badly for so long, and I'm doing it for free, meaning it's costing me money per month to do this at this point. But I've got a goal to build out a community. And so that goal is what's keeping me moving forward. I'm learning how to do a lot of the social media. I'm learning how to jump on camera and hit record. I'm learning how to produce a better product, making it sound better, look better, all of those kinds of things that when I started, and we're going on 3 years, it'll be 3 years in April. I guess it's been 2.5, I guess, if you're talking current date, but about 2.5 years of doing this. It was just a matter of, like we talked about at the very beginning, getting over that self-doubt, getting that fear, that judgment, and just allowing yourself to have fun. I've said this multiple times. I love doing this. This is so much fun for me. Hit record, have a conversation. Hopefully this has been valuable today. But so that's where I want to reflect that back to you, Greg, is that it sounds like this is your jam. This is what you want to go do. That the limiting doubts or the fears, all of those different things that we're all facing, all of us at any given time. Just step into it, man. And I get it. We want to earn an income, and we want to earn a living. We want to do all of those things. And I think those things will come if you do it well, and I know you will. And if you show up for people in a positive, helpful way, which once again, I know you will, I think the money will just be the result. I don't think that needs to be the desire. I think you just need to step into being what you want to do. That's what I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to show up as me, deliver as much value as I possibly can, get better every time we hit record, and then see where the chips fall. Anyways, that would just be some advice on this end, listening to you, knowing what I know about you, and then even just hearing that dialogue about this dream and the desire that you've got about helping and coaching other people. I think that you just need to really just step into it, man, and let the fear just dissipate. Let the judgment be with the judgment. I get comments all the time on YouTube or whatever. People will say, they don't agree with what I say, or I sound stupid or whatever. And I've had to get over that. It's like, it doesn't matter. They don't know me. They're some kind of words and numbers and whatever in what their description is. And it's like, who cares? Who cares? I'm just out here doing the best that I possibly can. I'm hoping somebody will find value in the message. And that's all I can do. So anyways, just want to reflect that back to you, man, is I think you just really just need to step into it. And I think that you'll find more joy in your day to day. Even the mundane grind of your job, your quote unquote job, will be a little less because you'll have something to look forward to. Just like hitting record here for me today. I worked this morning, very early this morning, but I was looking forward to this today. So I've had a good energy all morning getting up into this afternoon of hitting this record. So that would be my encouragement for you.
My one question is, how did this whole episode focus on me the whole time? We did not talk about you at all, Randy. Come on. I feel like I'm a guest.
It's almost like I had a plan. No.
I know, right? So maybe we'll dive into another episode and I can grill you a little bit, or
you can grill me anytime you want, man. Yeah, that's no problem. So I didn't plan it. I mean, we kind of had the idea. Yeah, I didn't have the idea, or I had the idea for the topic, right? For the question to be posed. But yeah, it just it led into, I had a feeling that where you are would be a great part of the discussion with this, right? So so folks, if you're anything like me, hearing like real life context, I think is like important. And that's where I try to do it with, trying to share stories with my life. Hopefully you'll appreciate Greg sharing a little bit more of the details about what he's going through and what he's got going on. But I think that if people could see that we're all dealing with similar things, not the same, but similar situations, and then having the courage to step into it and understand that and just own it, just be like, just get really just gritty, just go for it, just do it. That's what I want to try to inspire folks with. And so there again, if we can inspire you to do that, Greg, imagine how many people you're going to help. Just imagine that. So helping one person could potentially help hundreds, if not thousands of other people. And that's kind of the way I look at it, that ripple effect. once again, that's why I love showing up. It's like one person could listen to what I'm saying at any given time. I could share a quote, or I could share a message I learned about Earl Nightingale or Jim Rohn or whatever. And just hearing that the one time could spread into so many different areas. And because that's how it's been for me. When I've learned those messages from those legends, and then I've spread those things with my family, which then they can take it out into their world and spread it to their, their community, whatever. You just think about that ripple effect, and that just gets me so excited, which is why I'm excited to keep encouraging you to step into this, man. Let's go. People need you.
No, I appreciate that, man. And yeah, just to kind of clarify, we hopped on this call with, hey, I'm going to ask Greg a question or two, and then it turned into 7 or 8 questions. So this was not planned, and this was definitely just a little bit off the cuff for me. And it feels good, a little uncomfortable talking about it on the air here, but at the same time, this is kind of what we do, and trying to lead by example here with this podcast of, like Randy said, we're all dealing with this in one way or another, probably not the same way, but we all have those limiting beliefs of career or relationships or health or whatever. So this is just one example, and one example that's prime in my life right now.
So I'll pose the question one more time, folks, as we wrap this one up here today, is if that you knew there was no way that you could fail, and that there was no judgment, you weren't going to be judged for any decision, any action that you would take. What is one thing that you would go out and do today? And if no later than tomorrow, that would move you towards this bigger, better version of yourself. What is that? And just sit with that for a little while. If you get a lot of monkey mind jargon going on in your brain, your pushback, your doubts, I can't or I shouldn't, all of that stuff, we are all dealing with that. You can go back to past episodes. We've talked about the different things that are going on in our own mind, and we'll continue to have those conversations here moving forward. But it's understanding them and seeing them in real time, hearing them as you're even saying them to yourself or speaking out loud, catching them, and then realizing that you're in control. You can make a different decision in that moment to step forward, to step into this better version of yourself. And that's what I want to encourage you to do today, is to think of one thing, just one simple thing that you could start. It could be a podcast episode. It could be a YouTube video. It could be go out and research the AI tools. There's so many different things that you can do. Just pick one and get started moving yourself towards that bigger goal for yourself. So Greg, I appreciate you being willing. I guess I kind of coaxed you into to doing this. I don't know if you were willing or not, but you followed through, and I appreciate that. So folks, hopefully you found that valuable. And if you wouldn't mind sharing the message of the Rich Mind podcast with your family and friends, we'd greatly appreciate that. We're just trying to help people see in real time kind of the things that we're dealing with. Try to help you understand that you're not alone. But at the same time, you need to take your own goals and your visions of what is it that you want and just step into them. And we just want to try to be that encouragement for you moving forward as well. So go out there, have a fantastic day. Thanks for joining us. And we'll look forward to coming back with the next episode again very soon. Until then, bye now.
Thank you for joining us today on the Rich Mind podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, please like and share it with someone you know. Also, don't forget to subscribe on your favorite platform and never miss an episode. One last thing, don't ever forget that your mind is the first place where wealth is created. Keep dreaming big, take action, and together, let's build wealth, a legacy, and a life we love.